5-5 staying alive.
Yeah.
Can you believe this? This is our this is our 5th live stream.
It is. This is my 5th live stream ever.
I've done a few in the past and had some really good engagement, but then I didn't realize something. I didn't realize that the videos don't automatically go public. Like I have to change a setting somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah. So welcome everybody back to the live stream.
Hi, everyone.
Wonderful to see you folks. I hope everybody's having a fabulous start to your week. Officially, it is Monday, April 13th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not officially, it's still the weekend.
Not officially, it's still the weekend. Have you seen that isolation song about quarantine?
No.
Okay, I just sent this to my financial advisor.
I did see a hip hop track not too long ago with a bunch of guys wearing masks, and they're like they're doing like a COVID-19 rap, and they're spraying a Lysol at each other. It's very weird. They're all wearing like masks and spraying Lysol at each other. It's all very strange.
Okay, so I'll just play this ever so briefly. Please look it up on YouTube. Give them your support. It's called "What Day Is It?" The quarantine song. I was chatting with her on Saturday, and I was like, "Oh, I can't believe you're working on the weekend." And she was like, "It's the weekend."
True. Totally true.
So I'll just briefly play a little bit of this for you.
I don't know what day of the week it is. Yeah. Is it Monday? I don't know. Is it Tuesday? I don't know. Maybe Sunday? I don't know. Feels the same. Every day feels the same. I think it's Thursday. Shut your mouth. It all feels the same. It all feels the same.
So
Shut your mouth.
You get the gist.
That's hilarious.
Quarantine song.
I love like it's like what we say sometimes that everything is really grist for the mill, right? Like that's a phrase that you use often. And
yes, sir.
Right. So especially if you're in the entertainment industry and you got a bunch of time on your hands, right? You're making COVID songs.
You're making COVID songs. So Steve, do you want to guide us through a brief meditation to get us settled in? Unfortunately, our friend Zania couldn't join us today. And of course, for you folks who are watching live right now, we see you. I can see that there's lots of people watching live in this moment. Thank you for joining us. You can always hit me up with an email, and we can invite you into the Zoom room. We have it password protected with a waiting room, just to prevent any Zoom bombs, as they're called. But we would truly be honored to have the opportunity to hang out with you folks. Yeah. And I'll throw my email address just down here in the super chat, as we like to call it, tim@socialworker.ca, just for your reference in case any of you folks want to hop on live with us. So Steve, you offered to take us through a meditation to start our session off.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm going to invite at first everyone to find a relatively comfortable position. So if you're sitting in a chair or on the floor, or even if you're like lying in bed, that's okay too. Just like lying in bed.
Yeah.
Wiggle around a little bit, get comfy. And then, as always, the invitation to softly close the eyes. And know that if for whatever reason it seems inappropriate to close the eyes, that the gaze can be open, but soft gaze. And then begin to tune into the breath. But at first, I really invite you to not deepen or lengthen. Mm-hmm. Instead, just turn your attention to what was already happening. And then once you've aimed that attention more inward, take a few slightly deeper, slightly longer breaths. And from that place of attention, feeling that manipulation. And after a few slightly deeper, slightly longer inhales and exhales, the invitation to let the breath be easy and to be smooth and to be effortless. And in today's meditation, I wanted to work with noticing senses. Just noticing some of the input that the senses are taking in. And within that sense activity, we'll play around with it just a bit. And so first we'll start with the feeling sense. Just noticing sensations of breathing, any other sensations that are happening in the body, or on top of the body even. And that could be sensations like clothes on skin, maybe a laptop in your lap, a good place for it. And at first, sending your attention outward to feel sensation. And so consciously, actively using your attention to feel things. And then to notice the difference of, instead of sending your attention out to feel sensation, now I invite you to let sensation come to you. But if sensations are going to be happening anyway, that instead of looking out for sensations, what if you could just open your attention up and let the sensations come in? Beginning to notice if there's a difference in the way that the sensations present themselves. Sending attention out, or allowing sound or allowing sensations to come in. And then we'll start to work through the other senses. And so we'll go for sound. At first, sending your attention out to hear sounds. Noticing what that experience is like. And then to flip that. And then let sound come to you. And then we'll go for the eyes. So if your eyes are open, that's fine. Noticing, looking for visual form. Even if the eyes are closed, really like looking for light or color. If there's an image behind closed eyelids. and then flip. And allow a visual form to come to you. And then to flip into taste. And when I do this one, I actually like to kind of move my tongue around in my mouth. Maybe even like across the front of my teeth. Searching for tastes. And then again, flip. Opening up attention and allowing tastes to come in. And then we'll move towards smell. We'll be taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. You might even move your head around slightly, just like almost like your nose is the satellite dish looking for a signal. You could stick your nose down into your armpit if you needed to. And then again, flip. Allowing scents to come in as they feel. And then for the last few moments of practice, not so much an active searching, but would it be possible to begin to open up your attention to all the senses at once? Remember that you're not looking for anything in particular. And as you open up attention to all the senses, maybe also beginning to notice, where does your attention want to go? In this moment, what is your go-to sense? And we'll finish off by collectively taking 2 nice deep breaths in, slow breath out, deeper breath in, slower breath out. Beginning to add any movement that you need. When you're ready, you can softly open the eyes.
That was lovely, Steve. That was really lovely.
Thank you. I like senses.
Thank you. And like that, he ruins it. You know, what stood out to me, this is almost unbelievable. When you invited me to listen, there's these just beautiful birds outside my window. It's wide open. It's warm here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada today. I think it's like 14 degrees Celsius with a high of 15. And I could hear these beautiful birds singing. And when you invited me to let sound come to me, the birds had stopped singing.
Oh.
And there was this constant sound with no oscillation, which I actually found extremely troubling. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah. I don't know what that, maybe it's just like the sound of like cars, just like on the wet pavement on the highway. That's kind of.
Yeah, because you live close to the link, right?
Yeah, the Lincoln M. Alexander Parkway. Yeah. And smell, taste, that was cool. That was really cool. Thank you, Steve. What did you notice?
As I was doing them, it's always weird to sort of like try and guide and practice at the same time. And so the brief moments of non-instruction are really nice, just to settle into, to be able to do even a brief practice of just like, I like to think of it as manipulating and then non-manipulating, or pointing toward and then almost pointing away from slightly. And just being able to recognize for me that because of, like, let's say, a consistent practice over time, it's gotten so much easier to be able to turn on looking specifically at something or for something, and then being able to kind of flip that around and just let visual form in or let sound in. And so that's one of the things that I noticed was I had a very brief period of time to do it in between the instruction, and yet it was still possible even within this short frame to look and then to allow, or to do something and then to allow something to happen.
Yeah.
So that's what I noticed immediately, was just, oh, like, that's cool. Like, I don't need a bunch of time to do this now, that I can do it in a very short period of time.
Yeah, brilliant. Very nice. That's a cool little bite-sized insight, like around meditation as well, right? Like just learning how to work with your attention in this way. Yeah, that's cool.
And like, as a play on that, that's something especially when I teach meditation courses or workshops or in teacher trainings, that's one of the things that I say is that out of a lot of the things that I've noticed about myself because of practice, one, I'm much less distracted than I used to be. Two, when I get distracted, I don't drift off so far, right? I'm not 1,000 miles out to sea. And then the third one, which sort of lends to this, is when I do drift off, it's way easier to come back.
Okay.
It's way easier to manage. And whereas before I might have needed, like, let's say I sit down on my cushion, I close my eyes, I might have needed a good 2 or 3 minutes of really settling in before the practice takes hold. And now it's almost like I sit down on my cushion, I wriggle around for a couple seconds, and then as soon as I feel the beginning of an inhale, I'm like, okay, I'm here.
Oh, that's cool.
Right here, yeah.
That's really cool.
So I'm going to say, for me, that's one of the biggest benefits that I've noticed, is it takes me a lot less long to just settle into a scenario, whether it's a meditative practice or even just being in a group with people, because I tend to be socially anxious a lot. And so even just walking into, let's say, the yoga studio, or these days, the grocery store. Like, I can walk into the grocery store, and before there might have been, okay, gotta, everybody masks and nobody wants to.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, I got my mask on, I'm in the grocery store, here I am doing the grocery stuff. Yeah.
Love it. Very cool. Our friend Vicky Brown was just saying, hey guys. Hey Vicky.
Hey Vicky.
You've got the link, Vicky, if you want to hop in and come hang out with us, join us. Of course, we're going to end this practice today with a brief movement practice as well. So Steve, let's just take some time to check in. It's Monday after the long weekend, the holiday weekend. How was your weekend? How are you doing today?
Really good. Like, we did the classic sort of Easter thing yesterday, minus getting together physically with family. Although we did some Zoom chats, which was really nice. So we spent some time Zoom chatting people, Adele's family and stuff. And then, yeah, like the kids just had a blast waking up early in the morning and searching for, like, doing an egg hunt and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice.
Then
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then they ate far too much chocolate, and every parent knows like what a kid on too much chocolate's like. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and like my daughter Ava is all about chocolate. Like if she could just eat chocolate morning, noon, and night, she probably would. And so when we weren't looking, she would be like turning around trying to sneak chocolate.
So she's a sugar fiend, eh?
She is, yeah. Which is not a surprise because like I grew up being like almost a sugar addict.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, that's too funny. I also did a virtual, so a Zoom multi-site Easter dinner, which was, you know, adorable. And
Awesome.
Yeah, I also was I don't know. The only thing I can liken this to is like sick building syndrome is what I think I've been experiencing. So like no, and you betcha I've been taking my temperature, absolutely no fever. But just some experiences of like nausea and difficulty breathing. And also I have really bad allergies. So that may also have been contributing to it. And then I also noticed myself, especially yesterday, getting really irritated. I'm kind of doing a better job today at letting go of some of that anger. But what I noticed is, and I don't know, have you seen this phenomenon at all online, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, Steve? I became aware of it via photographers that I follow on YouTube, and photographers, by the way, that I like their work, I respect them. Front Porch Project. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I have heard of this. People standing on their front porches taking pictures, or people just coming out and doing activities like clapping or like is that what you're referencing?
So the pictures, yes. So the Front Porch Project, I believe, is where how it's defined is. And if you're taking your own pictures, I see absolutely zero issue with that. The thing that I have, Vicky says you can't find the link. You know what, Vicky? When we're done today, I will resend you the link with the password, and we'll get you in here maybe for tomorrow, my friend. I know that Bill was hoping to join us as well, but yeah, the more the merrier. So my understanding of what the Front Porch Project is people are taking their own photos, like on their front porch, you know, while they're in social distancing, self-isolation, which I think is cool. But one of the things that I find particularly irritating is professional photographers going out and taking photos of people. And you know, one of the comments that I saw from this one photographer who I follow, you know, and of course they're getting a lot of praise in comment sections, and I'm really shocked to see this. You know, he's saying, "Oh well, I'm bringing a telephoto lens here. I'll grab my telephoto lens here. You know, I'm shooting with this, you know, 70 to 200 lens, super, you know." I can stay more than 6 feet away. I can, you know, I can stay triple that distance away. Dude, that's not the point. Like the point is that all non-essential businesses are supposed to be closed. What are you doing out there, right? Like, I mean, and the state that this person's in, they're saying, oh, well, we're just supposed to be following social distancing guidelines. No, like you're in the epicenter of the outbreak. And I read the COVID-19 suggestions for your region. They're the same as they are here. Only go outside if it's absolutely necessary. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think, Steve? Am I like getting too cabin fevery with my irritation?
It's tough, right? Because it's like if you're, what is it? And is it still these days like groups of less than 5 are permittable? Mm-hmm. But I know that like my wife was reading stuff on, because somebody in Ottawa just got fined $800 for, I think it was rollerblading in a parking lot with their kids. A man and 3 kids fined $800. But it was, and I was like, well, yeah, like I get it, he's out and about, but I'm like, he's got 3 kids and they need to move and have some exercise. And if they live in an apartment building, this might be the only time they get today to actually just like move their bodies. Yeah. And so like, I'm going to say I'm conflicted. that like we haven't really been going out of the house too much. We went on a little bit of a walk this morning to mail some letters. So we all went out in the rain and that was a lot of fun, but then came right back home. We also have a yard, so it's easy for us to go out and to play in the yard and have some outdoor time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So, yeah, and so I'm a little bit conflicted by the urge to stay indoors, but then also like as an outdoor person and a mover, of recognizing how good those things can be, especially for our mental health.
Yeah. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I mean, one of the concerns that I was hearing is that, and again, this is conjecture, right? I mean, this is just two friends hanging out on a Zoom call. So, you know, this is not legal advice. You know, but my understanding is that the ticketing was going to be happening if you're in a space that you're not allowed to be. So like, for example, we've got a Hamilton Conservation Authority. Oh, hey, Vicky's coming in the call right now.
Oh, yay.
Right on. Welcome to the meeting, Vicky. Vicky's coming in. So we'll just wait a second here. Hi, Vicky. Oh, Vicky's connecting to audio. Great. Hi, Vicky. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi, buddy. Nice to see you finally.
How are you?
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good.
Oh, hi, Vicky.
Hi. I'm just going to put myself on mute because the kids are playing Nintendo, but I just wanted to join the crew.
That's okay. Did you catch the last thing I was saying? You know, some of my irritation about photographers, professional photographers going out. Yeah. So, and I was trying to get some feedback from Steve. Oh my gosh, our friend Laura just wrote in and said, my girlfriend in Oakville was fined $770. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
While taking her parents to the grocery store, cop told her it was because they don't live at the same address. What?
So because they don't live at the same address, she was fined for going there to get them to take them to the grocery store?
While taking, so I'm assuming her friend, Laura's friend, oh my God, Laura, is driving, right? Mm-hmm. In the car is her parents, and the police still ticketed her. I can't believe they didn't give her a warning. That's awful. That's really awful. Wow. Because they don't live at the same address. Yeah. So you're not supposed to, I guess, be with anybody where you don't live at the same address, or you're supposed to be 6 feet apart, right? Minimum. So yeah, my understanding was that police were ticketing people who were used. So in Hamilton, the Conservation Authority has closed all of their conservation areas, so all of the trails. Yeah. So my understanding is that they're ticketing you for trespassing, right? And also ticketing you if you're using like sidewalks, public recreation areas that are still open, if you're coming within 6 feet of one another, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how they're, okay, Vicky's nodding. Yeah. I don't know. What's your understanding of all this, Vicky? Because you're in Quebec where there's, Yeah,
I'm in Quebec. My understanding is that, well, I heard what you said about like these journalists or photographers who would like take pictures and they're like non-essential services.
Yeah.
I really do believe also that, you know, non-essential services should be like stopping their activities. And at the same time, I think about what's going on in Sweden, where like there's not all of these confinement measures that have been taken over there.
That's right.
And I mean, the country seems like is going along pretty well, you know? So sometimes I'm wondering if all these measures are not like overkill. Maybe I'm just gonna generate some reactions over here, but I don't know. I'm just very wondering what's going on with like the economy, with all of these independent workers like you guys. I mean, the cost is huge. The cost
massive,
is
massive.
And if we take measures like isolating elderly people, keeping them like within like this 6 feet and keeping them within their houses, maybe we would not have to go through all of this and pay the toll. Because like, look at, for instance, I'm very worried about children who are going through a rough time at home because maybe their parents are like just non-equipped to stay full-time with their kids. And usually these kids would go to school, and if something happens at home, the teachers would like call the police or call the authorities. And now these kids are alone at home without protection. You know, the protection from the community is just completely out right now. So that's what I'm worried about the most.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, Vicky, reactions or no reactions, I'm interested in creating a safe space where we're allowed to ask hard questions. So I think like the questions that you're posing are awesome. I think it's interesting. I know that I don't know what Switzerland's policy is. Sweden definitely. Germany has a whole other take. They've been quite proactive with testing and mandatory quarantine for people who test positive, and they've had literal, not these sort of like recruited like med school students, but like actual investigators going back through security footage, making phone calls and saying,
Wow.
you came in contact with this person. Steve, you worked in an office with Tim on Monday. Tim tested positive for COVID-19. We're going to be testing you for the novel coronavirus, and you're in mandatory lockdown anyway, homeboy. Right. So, I mean, definitely, I think it puts a lot of questions out there about like, how is it? Like, did our government respond appropriately on a federal, on a provincial, on a municipal level? Definitely. I've noticed recent Ipsos polls are showing, you know, like approval for Trudeau and approval for Doug Ford as, you know, on the rise, speaking moistly or not. So I think that's kind of an interesting kind of dynamic between the public and how we perceive this issue. I also know that Sweden has their ratio of intensive care beds to ours is they have far more intensive care beds. And I do know that, you know, when you get mathematicians using mathematical models for epidemiology to start talking about things like the spread of viruses and herd immunity, it starts creating a very different conversation than what we're having here. You know, we've got a friend, I don't know if I've mentioned this on our live broadcast before, but who was aware of a supply chain interruption in China after the Chinese New Year. And he was saying, you know, if you've got stocks, pull them out. This is going to be catastrophic. And not because he knew about the virus, but because he knew that workers in China, even on the East Coast, weren't returning to work after Chinese New Year due to some sort of, you know, lockout. And yeah, it makes it really, I think, poses a lot of really hard questions.
Yeah, and it's all about population, because that's what our prime minister said here in Quebec. He said, like, in Sweden, they do not have the same population like
density
like we do in Canada. So that's the whole difference. But still, you know, there are so many outcomes for so many people. It's awful. I'm so worried about that.
Yeah. And Laura followed up saying her friend that was fined that $770 was helping out her parents as they're older. So I wonder, is the lesson that we're supposed to take from that, go and purchase groceries? Hello. Hi. Hi. I wonder
That's Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth. I wonder if what we're supposed to be taking from that is if you're going to help out your parents or your neighbors, don't take them to the grocery store. I'm wondering if this,
just go buy them groceries.
Just buy the groceries for them, I guess. Yeah.
We should all have this ACT mindset, you know, like what are the values that we're pursuing with like these measures, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Rebecca was saying, I live in New York State and you're allowed to walk on sidewalks and nature trails as long as you keep the 6 feet distance.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
All playgrounds and parks are closed. So that's similar to here. Trails, like the conservation area trails, are closed. So you're not allowed to go on them. But parks with the like paved pathways.
Yeah, parks with paved pathways and stuff are open. And as long as, like, I know especially within Hamilton, it's mostly like parks are open to walk through, but not to congregate in.
Yes.
And as long as you're not on, I think Adele said this morning, as long as you're not on some sort of playing field or in a parking lot or on a bench, then you're kind of okay within the idea of distancing.
Yeah. Wild times that we're living in.
Yeah, very wild times.
So Vicky, how are you managing? Because it looks like you've got young kids there at home.
Yeah, I've got young kids at home. We're managing good. In fact, their father is a firefighter, so he works on the night shift sometimes. But we're doing fine. It's just that I've been starting teleworking because I work for National Defense. So today is a holiday, but usually when I'm teleworking, it's been an adaptation for them, because they're used to have like my attention all the time. So like mommy's working on the computer, mommy's on the phone.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the school is quite collaborative because they're sending us some activities to entertain them, and they're developing their autonomy because they're 4 and 5 years old. But I've had this really good tool that I've been using. I don't know if you guys know about focusing. I've been reading this book. It's called The Radical Acceptance of Everything, and it's when you guys in ACT are using these strategies which consist in observing our thoughts without identifying to them, just changing our language and saying like, okay, there's a part of me that's really discouraged right now. There's a part of me that's really like worried right now. And at the same time, I'm not identified with this thought. It's been helping me a lot, like with meditation also, because sometimes, we need space as a parent, and we need that.
Cool.
We need some time to just be with ourselves. So like with meditation, running a little bit sometimes, and just staying positive.
That's very
staying
cool.
positive, but at the same time, just accepting all of the thoughts that happen. Sometimes just accepting that I'm very like overwhelmed and really like I don't know what to do, but just not being hard on myself. And
yeah, that's beautiful. What's the name of that book again?
It's called The Radical Acceptance of Everything. It's from Anne Weiser Cornell. And the approach is it's called focusing. It's something that we use in nonviolent communication. This is an approach. Well, nonviolent communication is an approach from Marshall Rosenberg.
Yeah.
You know that? Okay.
Of course, I'm trained in it. I love
when
it.
You're talking about and when you're talking about the process, like you're making an observation, what are the facts, and then what are your feelings when you think about this, and then what are the needs below the feelings, what are the unmet needs, and what kind of requests you can make in order to get your needs met. And when you're on the specific stage of like talking about your feelings, focusing is very helpful because it helps you to notice that there's a part of you that feels in a specific way, and then you just like double click on this part of you, and you're like curious, like where is it into my body? Is it into my stomach, into my chest? And what color it is, what texture? You just like you're observing what's going on inside of you, and noticing that it's not you, it's just a part of you. And it's like you start dialoguing, talking with this part of you. And I it's been very useful for me, like to keep my mental health lately.
That's cool.
I really love it. I'm with Cornell and focus. And she has YouTube capsules also, Anne Weiser Cornell. I'll write it in the super chat if you want.
Yeah. That would be great. What I like about that is I like the labeling of experience. Like I feel like that's something from an RFT perspective that we talk about as being relevant, like the theoretical underpinning of ACT. But in ACT itself, we don't spend a lot of time talking about that behavioral process of being able to tact. I mean, we talk about diffusion, but I tend to find that diffusion becomes a little bit of a trope. It almost becomes quite silly, like milk, or other sort of cognitive experiments. Rather than just like what you were describing right there, this idea of, hey, like observe it, but be able to notice the fine details of it, be able to label those. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Very cool. Oh, Rebecca says, thank you, Vicky, for sharing information about the book and your experience. Steve, what have you been reading while you've been in lockdown?
Other than the Jules Mitchell book that I was talking about the other day, Yoga Biomechanics. What else have I been reading? There's a really wonderful book by a man named Dale Wright, and it's about the 6 perfections, or the 6 paramitas, which are part of Buddhist practice.
Okay.
So I've been getting into that. I really like that whole. I'm sort of like I don't want to label myself as a Buddhist, but I do a lot of Buddhist type things. So I'm really into Buddhist philosophy. So that's one of the things that I've been reading right now. And then research papers. I'm trying to catch up on research papers. I'm not a researcher, but I like reading papers and I like being up on some research. So
Yeah.
I've got friends that are consistently sending me pages on or reports or research on this topic or that topic. So right now I've been reading a couple research papers from Richie Davidson and Al Kazniak about mindfulness and emotional states. And, yeah.
Very nice.
I tend not to read fiction, so it's like I have a hard time reading fiction. I tend to stick towards nonfiction, especially I like textbooks. Textbooks.
I frequently will recommend, like, to people who don't have time to be reading like scientific journals, Evonomics, so Evolutionary Economics magazine is really good. Evonomics is what it's called. And I also just recommend like Science Mag, or subscribing to The Economist can be really helpful. There's, you know, some really good information. But what I've been reading is a book. I read it in undergrad and it just like changed my world. And I have been in need of some recalibrating of my my emotional compass. So I don't know if you two have heard of this book. It's called The World According to Mr. Rogers. It's a short read. It's really, really beautiful. Yeah, I read it in undergrad. I was doing this course on the philosophy of, I forget, science. This is well before I was into ACT. And we were talking about like interdisciplinary studies. And anyways, it was one of the, you know, kind of optional kind of readings in a list of books. And I, of course, growing up was a big fan of Mr. Rogers. Yeah, I remember reading that book in undergrad, and it really made a positive difference in my world. The World According to Mr. Rogers. All right. So Steve, I've got a session that I got to get to after this. So before we wrap up, let me just check in with the super chat. Paul McCarroll says, hey, Tim. Paul, my friend, what's up, homeboy? Paul from Belfast in Ireland. That's right. How you doing, man? I'm doing all right. Things have been rough for me lately, but I got a wonderful family who couldn't love me more and who supports me a lot. It's nice to hear from you, Paul. Paul, you give me a call anytime, man. You're my brother. Yasmin, my longtime friend, says, hey, guys, I'm watching this lying down in bed as I've hurt my back somehow.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, Yas. That's too bad. That's rough. And Yaz also says, thanks, Rebecca. The book sounds really interesting. And Vicky typed in there for us so that we have the radical acceptance of everything from Anne Weiser.
Awesome. Yeah.
Have you been reading anything, Yasmin? Yeah, Rebecca wants to know if Yasmin's been reading anything. I know Yasmin's been doing a lot of baking and a lot of fun stuff at home with the young ones. So are you two cool if I guide us through a brief movement practice here before we wrap up for today?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, cool. So actually what I'm going to invite you to do, and Elizabeth, you can join us too if you want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you like to do yoga, Elizabeth? She's very shy. She's like, hi phone, dude.
She does yoga at the daycare. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, nice. So what I'm going to invite you folks to do is, so I'm sitting at a desk, so I'm going to slide back a little bit. You may wish to kind of push your laptop away from you, but I thought I'd guide us through just not a vigorous practice, but just kind of get ourselves moving here today. So I'd like to invite you to maybe shift the flesh away from your sit bones, said less eloquently, moving your butt cheeks to the side. See if you can find yourself in a nice flat sit, and shift your body weight from side to side, maybe playing with the alignment of your shoulders over your hips, back and forward. And we're not even looking for the right posture here. We're just looking for a posture that kind of suits us in this moment. Oh, right on. Vicky's even rolling out the mat. Now that is legit. That's dedicated. And if you're willing, I'd like to just invite you to bring some motion to the arms and see where your arms just kind of naturally fall. And if you're sitting down on the ground, that's cool too. Just letting your arms drape over your knees, thighs, onto the ground. Finding some length through the spine. And dial it back into a sustainable posture. I can see Elizabeth's getting nice and comfy, yeah. And if you wish, you may wish to cross your legs. That's great. If you're sitting in a chair like I am, just letting your legs find a comfortable posture. And let's go ahead, let's reach our arms forward not bringing them all the way up, and reaching through the fingers, spreading the fingers wide, almost like we're holding a little beach ball here. And then on an inhale, I'd like to invite you to just open your eyes slightly if they're closed, bringing your gaze just past the fingers. And let's reach our arms up to the point where we just start to feel a little bit of resistance. Maybe bring the gaze up. And then with an inhale, reaching a little higher. With an exhale, let's bring our hands together, draw our hands down to the heart center. Having a breath here. Reaching the hands forward again. Spreading through the fingers, looking past the fingertips. Gaze is nice and soft. Don't even worry about focusing on the screen. Let's inhale, bring our arms up to the point where you just start to feel a little bit of resistance, and then just dialing it back, bringing a bit of softness in. Noticing where your shoulders are at. And no need to pull them down, but no need to squeeze them up towards your ears either. Just noticing how your shoulders situate themselves. Inhale, maybe reach a bit higher, and even bring the spine in a little, just kind of arching back a little bit, exaggerating into a slight back bend. Exhaling, coming forward, bring the hands forward, folding down into your heart center. And I'm just shifting to the side a little bit because the desk is still in my way. I'm going to invite you to just slowly lower your hands down past your knees, down the shins. I'm going to invite you to fold forward as far as you're comfortable. Maybe let some of the tension out of your face, letting the muscles around your mouth and your forehead relax. As you just reach forward, inhale, find a little rigidity, a little length in the spine, and then exhale, really relax your body, just folding over your thighs. And just notice what it's like to be low, hanging in this passive posture here. Inhale, pressing your hands into your knees, perhaps your shins or your thighs, and just gently supporting your body as you lift up out of this forward fold. Bring some motion into your body, just finding a little bit of a neutral posture here. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Just bring your gaze past your fingers, spreading wide through your fingers. And now I'm going to invite you to just bring your hands together. And if you're noticing some tension, go ahead and bring your hands forward just to take some of that tension out of the shoulders. We don't want to put too much load on our system today. This is just a brief little practice. And from here, you may wish to interlace your fingers, pointing your index fingers up. And lean ever so slightly through to the right, opening up through the left side body, but not collapsing into the right side body, keeping the right side body engaged. And if you can see on my camera, I've gone from here just ever so slightly to the right. You don't need to worry about like really craning your body over. Maybe lifting your gaze. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, dropping your arms down. And let's engage into another nice long forward fold. Exhaling, bringing yourself all the way down. Folding your torso over your thighs, dropping the arms. Just relaxing here. What we mean by relaxation is just some freedom from stress. Drop the tension out of your face. Perhaps the teeth unclench. Maybe the lips even separate. And inhale, supporting your body, whether it be hands to shins, knees, or thighs, coming back up to a neutral spine. Inhale, let's sweep the arms up, spread through the fingers. The gaze comes past the fingers. Maybe dialing the arms down a little. As you bring the fingers together, interlace them. And you may need to deinterlace and reinterlace in the opposite direction. Index fingers pointing up. We'll reach through to the left side body this time. Careful not to collapse through the left. Staying engaged here. Maybe bringing your vision up. looking past your fingers. And if you want to experiment with going a little further, see if you can maintain a nice flat seat without kind of coming off of one of your sit bones, perhaps coming off the right sit bone to the left. And just notice if your mind says, you need a deeper stretch than this today. Inhale, coming back to center, maybe reaching a little higher, reaching back, just a slight back bend. One more exhale. Let's bring it all the way forward, folding forward. Really allowing the torso to just rest on the thighs. Maybe reaching the hands forward, supporting your upper body. Inhaling, supporting your body, lifting up slowly. I'd like to end this practice by inviting you to just bring your hands to heart center. Let's just give ourselves a breath on purpose. And I'd just like to point something out here that as much of an emotional roller coaster as I've been experiencing, I'd like for you, Steve, Vicky, Rebecca, Yaz, Paul, all of our friends who've joined us here today, I'd like for you folks to know that, and Laura as well, I haven't forgotten about you, Laura. I'd just like for you folks to know that I'm grateful that we have made it through this weekend, and I'm grateful that you folks are here to share this space with me. The light in me bows to the light in you. Thank you for this practice, folks.
Thanks, lovely.
Well, for this April 13th, 2020, Elizabeth, Vicky, Steve, hope you two have a wonderful day. We're going to see you back here tomorrow. Vicky, you going to join us tomorrow?
I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best.
Yeah. Right on. Then you can answer all the hate mail about people responding to you. No, I'm joking.
Take care.
Have a lovely day, you two.
You too.
Good check-in.
Bye, Steve.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye, Tim.